Hi guys, you got Frankenfoot here. I'm still around. I'm still making a video here or there, not too much. For my main base, I'm kind of in hero updating purgatory, so I don't have a whole lot of wonderful things happening there. When you got a king or queen down, and you're not making a lot of quality war attacks, so not a lot there. But I'm having a lot of fun with builder base these days. The rest of my clan doesn't seem to care too much about it, so this is just a general video for the rest of YouTube. But anyway, the things I've found that have worked have been to rush your town hall, get up to those higher levels very, very quickly, pick a singular army to max out and crank it out, get that maxed up, and then just pound, 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 pound. So for me, I was using baby dragons and minions, and that lent itself well into going and then starting to use witches, as that's the attack that you see here. And I've been playing around with witches for a while. I've always had a fascination with witches. The idea of spawning units I just thought was really cool. Ever since I first started playing Clash of Clans years ago, the witches were like the top Dark Elixir unit. Like, oh, that's so cool. They spawn skeletons. That's awesome. And they've had buffs and nerfs and everything throughout the days. But these are night witches. They spawn bats and other crazy things like that. So the bats will do a good job of knocking out air bombs and air defenses, but they don't do such a hot shot job at knocking out ground defenses. So that's sort of a nice balance, I suppose. They don't have to keep going back and forth as to how they are, handling the witches so much in the builder space. But anyway, so there's just some eye candy going on for you. But I figured I'd make a quick video about witches and how I'm using them. So of course I hop on YouTube and I see the people talking about builders bases and things like that. It's interesting to see how some bloggers are still going on with wars in the main base, and some bloggers are now moving into builders base and things like that. But I think it's great that people have, whichever way you want to go, you can go, right? You pick your poison and you go with it. Whatever you enjoy doing. And when something gets a little stale, like my war attacks are kind of stale right now, I've got this builder base to fall back on, which I'm having a load of fun with. But anyway, with witches, I have had success with mainly two armies and kind of a third one. The first one is what I've heard people on YouTube refer to as Baby Mitch, which is minions and witches, and then baby dragons. And essentially you use your baby dragons to tank. That's what you've seen in these past two attacks. You use your baby dragons to tank, and then you send minions behind them, and then you'll use witches to sort of keep pushing, and then also to trip as many air traps as you possibly can. The other thing I've had success with is just witches and minions by themselves. That seems to work very well if you can't, if you are going to have to engage the air bombs. Air bombs are, even though minions will die in one big shot if they're clustered together, the splash damage area effect of the air bombs is not huge. So you have to have a lot of minions really clustered together in order for that to take into account. And then if you start pumping extra witches and you have extra bats, they're less likely to be hurting your minions. So I've had that good luck with that attack strategy too. And I've had one attack where it was just the battle machine and witches, and that actually went well, but that was a very one-off kind of special base. So anyway, the attack strategy I'm using is pretty much try to take out the town hall and then try to get as much percentage as you can. If you get a solid 2-star, that's almost going to get you the win in almost all the cases. Even a high percentage 1-star does really well. These maxed out, and mine's nowhere near maxed out, but these high-powered builders hall bases are kind of hard to get 3-stars on. So really that's the way to go. And so the first thing I do is figure out the best pathing to get to the builder's hall. I might have said town hall. I apologize for my stupidity. That's generally the side that it's closest to, right? So if it's offset, if it's not in the center, that's a good side to start from. Let me get another replay going here before I lose my train of thought. And I'm a very average, enthusiastic but average player. We'll show this 3-star against my base, which I shamelessly stole off of YouTube. Not even gonna pretend I did that. I think I got this off of Galadon, and it served me pretty well. This my mortar's been down for a few days, so I'm getting pounded by witches and other things. But I'm still coming up with the win more often than not. Almost at 4,000 trophies, not quite there. About 100 more or so to go, as my time in casual playing allows me to do. Anyway, so generally attack from the side closest to the town hall. There are exceptions to that, and that's what my base is trying to do. It shows you all this cluster of naughty around the town hall, and it's really tempting you to come from the south to get the percentage up. Because if you go for the town hall side, you're going to wipe your army out pretty quickly. Anyway, but send the battle machine on the side closest to the builder's hall if you can. You'll want to try to take out the mortar and the roaster with the battle machine, because he's strong against the mortar and he's strong against the roaster, and those are two things that your witches and bats are going to have real trouble with. The mortar especially. That's the last thing. It's got a huge range. Once the battle machine is gone, that will tear through your witches. The battle machine is very weak against the crusher especially, and he's also pretty weak against the double cannon. So ideally, you'd love to send him in on a side that you can path to the mortar, you can path to the roaster, and you can avoid all air bombs with your air troops. And we'll see how that comes into play. Can't always do that. Good base designs take that into account, and it makes it hard. But that's the general idea. Find the best path to the town hall, send your battle machine in, and try to take care of that mortar and roaster. Doesn't always work, but sometimes you can get it to work. The next thing you do is you want to determine what army composition it is that you really want to use. Now, my default, the thing I've had the most luck with over the course of this whole thing, has been Baby Mitch. And that's baby dragons, minions, and of course witches, and your battle machine, of course. So that's my default, and this is ideal if you can pick a side to attack from that you're not going to engage the air bombs, because the air bombs are the primary thing that are going to really hurt your baby dragons. So that's the default. If you can get to those key structures like the mortar and the roaster without really having to engage the air bombs, it's the best way to go, I've found. If it is really ideal to go into the side with the air bombs, and you are going to have those blue and red barreled air bombs attacking your troops, I will switch my army and I will just use minions and witches, and that is 2 camps of witches and 2 camps of minions. The baby Mitch would be 1 camp of witches, 1 camp of baby dragons, and 2 camps of minions. So I'm really trading the baby dragons for another pack of witches. Now that works, believe it or not, even though it seems like the air bombs should be horrendous, terrible things for your minions. They're really not that bad. If you got a big cluster of minions, it's going to knock them all out in one shot, but your minions tend to spread out, and the area of effect is really not huge for those air bombs. So minions are not a bad way to go. Let's watch this one. So the attack, you might have picked it up from some of these. I basically have a 3-phase attack. First phase, send in the battle machine with witches behind them. You want to do that as far away as possible, because it gives your witches time to spawn an extra round of bats or 2, and it also gives your battle machine, if this is the way you like to play, you can use your ability instantly, and then he'll have another ability ready to go sooner rather than later. There's other ways to do that. I'm not going to tell you which is best or worse. It's probably situation dependent, but I'm not smart enough to really understand when to use what. But that's the first step in this attack. Sending your battle machine and then witches behind it. Witches on either side of the battle machine. I don't like to cluster them up too much. I like to get those bats in sort of a wide area if you can. So once the first wave of bats have hit, you'll see, as you saw in this attack, probably they triggered a fair amount of air bombs. And that's good, because bats are expendable. You keep making more and more bats. So I love it when bats hit on those air bombs. But once that first wave has been triggered, and before the battle machine starts taking too much heat, then you want to start the second wave of your attack, which is your air attack. And be it baby dragons and minions, or just minions only, you want to start that attack. Let's watch this one. But do hold on to some amount of minions, say 2 to 4 minions, because you'll want to try to get that percentage up at the end of the attack. And once you've cleared out a lot of structures like firecrackers or one of those things, archer towers, you'll have an opportunity to, oh, well, look, this is an all-witch attack. You'll have an opportunity to get off a few pieces more of percentage just by dropping some minions in some key locations. You can't always do that. Sometimes, it might make sense to do it at the start of attack, but I tend to like to wait to the end because you just don't know what structures are going to fall and what new things to pick off are going to open up. So unless it really helps with my pathing of the witches and the battle machine, I don't generally drop any minions at the front end of the attack. I save 2 to 4 for the back end. And that's just to clean up what you can. So that's the 3 phases of the attack in general. Battle machine with witches behind it. Once the first wave of bats have cleared out any air bombs that can clear out, then you start your primary attack, which is whatever air troops you're bringing, and then save 2 to 4 minions until the end and clean up what you can. So, now that we've got all this wonderful eye candy out of the way, we'll jump into a few of these attacks and I'll break them down a little bit better. So let's go. We've probably seen some of these, but there's no harm in watching it again and having me explain a few things. So this was a 3-star somehow against Ali Raftari. Now when I looked at this base, I paused it here because I'm naughty. I noticed I just can't get, there's no good way of the pathing for the battle machine to avoid a crusher. And that's the intent of this base. He's going to path in one direction or the other, and he's going to hit that crusher. So there's just not much I can do about that. So I decided to send him in on this side because you've got the roaster and the mortar on this side, and you've got a double cannon and another double cannon over here. So that's going to buy the battle machine as much time as he can. And of course you've got cannons here, but hopefully your air troops can knock those out pretty quickly. And then your firecrackers will be gone. But hopefully that's going to buy him enough time to tank for just enough time before he gets smashed by that mortar that he can get the win. The other benefit is the guard post. This guard post is weird. Can I get the range? No, it won't show. There, no, it won't show me the range. The battle machine did manage to wipe out the guard post, which is good because they're terrible at extracting or distracting units and letting them just sit and get pounded unnecessarily. Especially those barbarians that just run around in circles. Minions will chase them until the end of time. Anyway, so that was the plan. We're going to enter over here, and you'll see the battle machine come in. Come on, battle machine. Come out. There he is. Tried to send him a bit of a ways away, and the witch is a bit of a ways away. Didn't spread him out very much, did I? Just to try to get them as much time to use abilities and spawn bats as I could. Then you see the baby Mitch coming in. Baby dragons far enough apart that they can get that rage ability up front, even though I don't have maxed out baby dragons yet. And then minions behind them, and the baby dragons are really tanking while the minions are just clobbering things and taking out things very, very quickly. So as you can see, the battle machine met its end once it got to that crusher, and I did not yet take out that darn mortar. And so I did manage to lose a witch because of that. But fortunately, that did get taken out by the baby the minion, the Mitch, or baby Mitch, whatever you want to call it. The baby dragons and the minions, they did manage to take those out. And just had just enough pepper left. So watch this air bomb on these minions. See, well, it's distracted by a bat. But yeah, so that air bomb just took out that one little minion there. If you go back and watch the replay again. So minions are pretty strong against the air bombs, I found. So there's an example of baby Mitch. Next one I'm going to show you is against King Louis. This one was actually a fail. But it's worth looking at fails and seeing what went wrong here. Where is he? King Louis, here he is. So I decided to use baby dragons and minions because I'm not going to engage the air bombs. And this is one of those difficult bases to where you see the town hall is really recessed, but there's so many structures that you want to try to take out on the way to the town hall. You really don't want to come in on the town hall side. This is actually my base now that I look at it. He must have seen the same YouTube video that I did. Thanks, Galadon. He did a little bit better than me at taking this base out, though. I think my mortar's been down, so that helped him out a little bit. But yeah, so maybe it makes sense to come in on the back side. I've seen people attack me from the back side of this base before. and it didn't have great results. But if you watch the replay, you saw you had the battle machine come down, baby dragons and minions behind them. They just didn't have quite enough pepper to get a push to the town hall. You know, I got a not a high percentage, but I got at least 1-star attack. It wasn't quite enough for the win. I think he eked me out by just 1 or 2 percentage points. And life is weird because, you know, everybody's got different defenses that they've maximized and not maximized, and everybody's got different defenses that are down being built. So life is strange in the builder's base. Anyway, so let's find Maxenzio. Maxenzio, where are you, Maxi? He's not there. He's down here somewhere. There he is. High percentage 1-star here. Didn't get the town hall apparently. But I like to go with Baby Mitch here because I'm also avoiding the air bombs there. Tried to get that darn battle machine in as far away as I could, but he's got his base in the corner just so people like me can't drop battle machines and minions or witches and battle machines and have them have lots of bats and abilities. But anyway, so the battle machine is not even tanking for the mortar yet. So this is kind of not, maybe it wasn't a good planned attack, but I did decide to try to come in on the side farthest away from those air bombs so the baby Mitch, or at least the minions and baby dragons could make as deep a push as they could. And they got a pretty darn high percentage 1-star, but you can see they just didn't quite get to that town hall. So you see that air bomb, once again, only took out 1 freaking baby dragon, or 1 baby minion. Didn't even take out a minion with that one. So minions versus air bombs seems terrifying. He's probably going to knock a bunch out here. Push! Only knocked out 2, though. Didn't knock out all 4. Eventually it got him, but yeah, minions are surprisingly strong against air bombs. Now, when you bring 2 minions left over, you don't have enough pepper to push on the town hall. Sometimes if it's really, really weak and you've saved 4 minions up, you can get enough push to take out the town hall, but I found that strategy doesn't work as often as I would like it to. I tend to drop my minions, a lot more of them, and just save 1 or 2 till the end, rather than try to save enough to maybe take out the town hall at the end. Okay, let's watch the attack against a Jethal. Not that I know how to say it. So we both had pretty good attacks here. Let's take a look at his. Let's take a look at what I did against his base. So this was about the same base as Al Raftari, except it's laid out a little bit differently. He's got more structures out over here. So what I actually elected to do, and he's also got his double cannons pushed back a little bit more. So I elected to do witches and minions from this side, and he's also got a big run-up, so I can get a couple of rounds of bats before they start engaging anything. So I decided to drop the baby dragons in place of witches and see what that bought me. So here comes the battle machine. Witches, 2 on each side, trying to get a big line of bats to come up to A, soften things up, B, try to trigger as many air traps as you could. And then nothing but minions as far out as I can so they can use their ability to the best of their ability to back those guys up. So at the moment, the battle machine is not engaging much of anything that can hurt it. Eventually it's going to walk into those double cannons and it's going to get hurt in a hurry, but you see how much time it had sitting there tanking for things like archer towers, and other things that might could have hurt the witches, and the mortar, I guess, too. But he just sat there tanking and tanking and tanking because he did not engage the double cannons, because he did not engage the crusher. He had a lot more time to tank, which is always a good thing. And that air bomb did not do much damage. The extra bats from the witches helped. Eventually my final witch will fall to that mortar, and the rest of the minions will fall to air traps, roasters, and archer towers. But so there's an example of when I just use Mitch, and I take away the baby dragons, and it's just minions and witches. And a little bit of cleanup. Alright, so, oh wow. This next one I just wrote Chinese guy, baby Mitch. So let's see if I can find Chinese guy. That looks Chinese, that looks like a baby Mitch. Let's just see if this is the one. So I was able to avoid the double cannon here as best as I could. So I think I came in on this side. Nice little run up for the battle machine to have here. Eventually he will hit this crusher and he will expire. But on his way, he's going to avoid both of these double cannons for a spell and tank for that mortar and allow the witches and minions and baby dragons to sort of have their fair crack at this. Now, I did end up on the side with the air bomb over here, but I decided to go ahead and stick with baby Mitch, even though I am engaging that, because it's only going to really engage part of the army, not really the whole army. Most of the force is kind of coming on the top. And it seemed to work fairly well. That baby dragon expires rather quickly, regretfully, but he actually what would probably help this was the firecrackers are both on that side too. But eventually the minions do fall, but oh wow, there's a big cluster of minions taken out right there. See, if your minions really cluster up bad, those air bombs can be trouble. But if you drop them correctly, and as you see how I'm dropping them sort of like lines, I'm dropping them out such that they sort of fold into each other and form like a straight path, a line of destruction. That's sort of how I learned to do things from my grown-up dragon days and my main base Town Hall 8 days, years and years ago. Town Hall 7 and 8 with dragons. You remember that? Remember how easy that was? Man, just 3-starring left and right. But that's what I've learned to do. Just sort of drop them out in the sort of a V shape from the outside to the in, and they'll knock out those outer buildings, and then they'll collapse on itself and have one nice line of destruction. That's what you want. You want the line of destruction. So the last replay I'm going to share, MD Mahabub. MD Mahabub. Anyway, so both of us had pretty good attacks, so we both used the same army apparently. I'll play his attack just for fun. My mortar's down. I don't know if he had anything down or not. Let's see. I don't see anything down. So I am not expert in this, and I haven't done this very much, but I took a look at this base, and I saw this big run up here, and I thought, well, there's definitely a lot of traps in there. But he's got both his double cannons backed up here. He's got his air bombs far away here. And he's got his crushers pretty well recessed in the base, and witches are very strong against crushers. So I said, why the heck not? Let's just dump a bunch of witches behind a battle machine and see what that buys us. And here it comes. In a minute now. Kapuya! Here he comes. Battle machine. Line of witches. Bats going absolutely insane. Just going crazy. Going to town. They hit an air bomb, but they don't care because they're bats. And the rule about bats is bats always have more bats. That's not a real life rule. That's a Clash of Clans rule. So don't go telling your science biology teacher I said that. But look at that. Look how much they cleared out. All the battle machines really had to do was contend with a few cannons. Eventually he's going to hit that crusher, and that's going to be the end of him. But he's been tanking for that mortar for quite a while. Now, unfortunately, the double cannons and the mortars are left up, which is bad news for witches, especially that mortar. But they've made such a deep push into this base, they're going to get the town hall. They're going to get a pretty high percentage 2-star as well. So in this instance, all witches seem to work quite well. I've had other instances where it has been a complete embarrassing failure, and they'll wonder how on earth did this guy push up to 3,900 trophies when he sucks at this game that much. So I don't necessarily recommend all witches. It seemed to work here. Let's see what his attack against us did, because I just eked him out by a few percentage points. Now let's see if it is. Yes, my mortar's down right now, which is great news if you like to use witches, because mortars and witches don't get along. So it looks like he came in from the top, because that's where it's farthest away. That's kind of how I wanted people to attack this base, or at least that's the thinking. Those bats are going to keep congregating on that high hit point structure for a while, and they're going to just get blasted. Let's see. So maybe next time I attack my own base again, or rather somebody that Galadon got the base from his base, maybe I'll come in from the top. It worked quite well for this guy. Now the only problem here is that mortar is down. If that mortar were up and he locked onto this group of witches over here, this might have had a very different outcome. Now, you see the ground things are slowly whittling them down, but they've managed to get a real deep push. Oh, it took them a while for the bats to get to that builder's hall though. So hey, maybe this is a viable way to attack the space with the mortar up, maybe not, I'm not sure. Oh, He had a high percentage, but he really just kind of eked this out. He's got 2 witches left. Battle machine's down. Oh, wow. He got it. He got the town hall, but he didn't have a lot left over. He had a whole witch left. If the mortar were up, I don't think he would have gotten 2 stars. But I don't know. We'll see. Next time I hit that base, I'll give that a shot. Anyway, well, there you go. So there's some examples of Builder's Hall witch usage that has been working for me, a casual, non-expert player sitting at 3,923 trophies. Win quite a bit with these army compositions. Helps to have them more or less maxed out. Like the witches are maxed and the minions are maxed. The baby dragons I don't quite have maxed yet, but their rage ability is so short, I don't know that it's worth it trying to max them out or not. I guess I should, just so I can see they're maxed out. And I'm actually trying to catch all my other stuff up because I've shot up and got baby dragons, or I've got witches and minions maxed out, and the battle machine maxed out, and the rest of my attacks, or the rest of my army is pretty weak. So anyway, there you go. So just to go over one more time, the main steps are: find the best way to the town hall. You want to try to target the roaster and mortar with your battle machine. You want to avoid double cannons and crushes with your battle machine. Try to find a place where they've got plenty of room to build up ability and to send bats in a couple of times. Once the first wave of bats have cleared out the traps, any air bombs, send in your air army, be it baby dragons and minions, or just straight up minions. Save a few minions at the end and see what buildings you can pick off once you've cleared stuff off. I mean, that's about it. It's been working very, very well for me. And that's all Frankie's got for today.